Another DMS chats, and this time with Jackie Prince.
Hello.
Welcome to it.
How are you?
I'm very well.
Good.
You know, it's actually an honor to have you. On my roster, you've been there for, your name just keeps popping up and popping up. And I'm actually honored to have you.
Thank you. It's an honor for me as well.
I think you're an amazing vocalist. I think you have so much to give this industry. And we're happy to have you part of the DMS.
Thank you.
And I think as we go into that, let's actually start, because maybe a lot of people don't know who you are. Maybe just a short little story of where it all began for you, you know, where you're at, what you are. But just to put it simply, she's an amazing vocalist, to me, an amazing writer. Not sure what else you do. I'll leave that up to you. But that's just how I see it.
Yeah, so you're right. I'm a writer, vocalist. I have a little label called The Electronica, which releases collaborations that I do with other producers. But the focus is mostly working with women in the industry. So under that umbrella, I also have a little party that I run with Surreal Sounds called Surreal Electronica, which obviously had to take a bit of a break this year. But we do that at Kitcheners to give a space to upcoming DJs and predominantly women as well, as a space to play in the sort of Afro house scene. As well as writing. I love to write, like writing. And yeah, I just generally enjoy working in the scene with producers and vocalists and amplifying women in everything that I do.
All right, let's touch base on that, and actually the amplification of women. I mean, obviously, look, there's a need for it, and there's a cry for it, and that's why you're just like jumping onto woman and woman. What, from your perspective, why is it so prominent for you? Do you feel women are left out? Let me leave it in your words, you know. Why though, so much on the woman's side?
Well, because I think there aren't enough spaces for us to do our work as artists, as DJs, to do it safely as well. So I think the most important thing for me is to try and speak about some of the challenges that we face, hopefully to make people aware, but not only that, to get people thinking about how they can contribute to making the scene more diverse, more inclusive, safer for women. I mean, there's just so many stories about how women are treated in the industry. So, I mean, for me, it's primarily because I'm a woman, you know, and I want to be able to exist in a space that is nurturing, in a space that allows me to be who I am without it being about my gender.
Sure.
You know,
sure.
It must be about my capabilities. At the same time, I think people need to be aware of the stereotypes that are out there in order to combat them. So pretty much that's what motivates me and sort of keeps me talking about it and trying to do as much as I can to alleviate some of the issues that we face.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's go into the songwriting. One thing that I've picked up from you, you've got it's like as if you grow up with house music. Am I correct? Am I wrong?
You're actually correct.
Because the way you sing on the songs, you know what you're doing, and we don't have a lot of vocalists that do that. To be honest, when in my time of producing, it's not that I haven't produced for a while now, but I just give it a short break. But in the times where, 4 or 5 years ago, or even further, it was so difficult to find a house vocalist, if you know what I mean, because I guess we didn't have them growing up within the scene, at the time. So it was so tough to find someone who could write the lyrics. So you'd find a gospel vocalist, and maybe you try and get her to coach her to where you want to go.
Yeah.
And when now I just see it coming naturally. It's not only you, there's Wonder Boy, there's so many. You know, there's just so many around, and it's amazing to see. You know, Tandy's Dry as well. If I can mention a few names that I've picked up on, you know, just people that grew up in this housing, and where did that come about?
Well, I actually grew up in Zim, so I grew up listening to a lot of South African music. Yeah, so like D.O.P., you know, Blue Six used to play on Channel O, you know, so I love that. I also enjoyed listening to a lot of 90s house music, like the big voices, you know, Robin S., also Crystal Waters, Barbara Tucker, you know, those kinds of.
So it's a house foundation.
Yeah, so my foundation is really, that's where my interest for house music, like, grew and sort of came from, was just sort of being exposed to those vocalists and those producers and that kind of music that just really spoke to me, you know.
I think then let's go into the songwriting part. When you actually get a track, what is the approach that you take? So I'm sending you a track. How do you take your approach? How do you agree, number one? Okay, I can do something with this track and I feel it. Is it sometimes pressure with money, or is it always, you know, I gotta feel this before I do this?
Yeah.
I think that's one, and just the approach that you take when you write, because I guess a lot of people do send you tracks that they want you to sing. You know, it's very common amongst all the vocalists.
Yeah. So for me, the primary thing is whether I like the song. So initially, when someone sends me a track, I listen to it and I think, okay, do I feel it? Do I get a sense that I can work with it? There's sometimes when I really, really enjoy something to the extent that an idea comes immediately and I'm thinking, this is great. There are other times when something comes to me and I like the track and I'm thinking, okay, this is going to present a challenge to me. So sometimes I'll take something on as a challenge, you know, just to sort of stretch myself a bit. But usually when people send me stuff, I wouldn't say that money is the most important thing. For me, the most important thing is making sure that I get everything on the publishing side, on the composition side. That usually tends to be the most contentious part, because sometimes you get people who have the money to pay you, but they don't want to give you anything.
They want to own everything.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they want to pay you, but they want to take everything. So for me, it's never really been about money, and I've been fortunate in the sense that although I enjoy music, I don't see it as the only thing that I do. So I've always kept a job. So I've never been under that pressure to be like, okay, I need to sing the song, or I have to do like 10 tracks in order to make a living. And I often feel that sometimes people, when they get into the music industry, they feel so much pressure to make it the thing that they're doing, not knowing that it takes a really, really long time for you to get to a point where you're actually making enough money to live with your art.
Sure, and still love what you do. I think most importantly, because when you lose the love, when you lose that love, then you start to go in places where you don't want to be.
That's true.
It's like, and people can even feel it. Certain people can just feel it.
Yeah, that's very true. And I think that typically comes from having, you know, so many bad experiences that you get jaded, and then you lose the love for it. So I think sometimes you just need to have something that protects you from that, so that you can continue to make your music without a lot of these pressures and without the sort of desperation in a way. So for me, that's what has worked for me. Although there are some people who are quite happy to, you know, go through the motions and sort of just make music the only thing they do for a while, even if they're not making money, which is fine. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that's what has worked for me.
Yeah. I think two more questions. One of them, COVID. I think it hit us all, especially the entertainment industry. I mean, there was really anything that anybody could help the whole entertainment industry. We kind of had to either help each other, or otherwise go out and reach out to family or into savings if there ever was anything like that, which is very difficult. But how did that affect you? And then what are the positives out of it? But what are the lessons that we learned?
Well, like most people, you know, income was lost. A level of security, in a way, because
was lost.
Yeah, because you feel like, okay, I've built this career and I'm sort of gearing towards some kind of stability in some way. At least for me, I was getting to a point where I was like, okay, maybe I might start doing like music a little bit
Full time.
more,
Yeah.
and letting go of all these other things that I do. So it sort of hit me in that way where I had to like step back, and now I'm sort of fully immersed in the sort of corporate working life,
Environment.
you know, where you wanted to like get out. So definitely in that way, and I think there was a huge sense of like helplessness in a way, you know, because you're thinking like, what's next? There's no assurances, there's no safety net, you know, not just for myself, but for my peers as well. You know, because you're thinking, what does that mean for the greater community that I exist in?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And the other people who my career depends on, like venues, like record labels, like stores, like,
Sure.
you know, just businesses, you know. So what does that mean? When it's all said and done, am I going to come back and will there be a venue for me to host my party? You know, like that kind of thing. And you were worrying, well, I was worrying about other people as well. So I think it was quite jarring. It was very abrupt and quite scary, I think. But within that, there were so many other things that emerged that made me realize that perhaps there's an opportunity to do better, because to a certain extent, the way we were working or operating wasn't healthy for some people, especially women, especially vulnerable people within the industry. And there's so many conversations happening around race, around gender, around, you know, at least internationally, there's been this huge, you know, surge of conversations around that and about the industry itself. So you're starting to see major labels thinking about making changes, and you know, and you're hoping that will sort of trickle down, and people will start thinking about ways in which to make the industry better. So I think I'm seeing that, and also just the different things that we got to learn, like using OBS, you know, being self-sufficient. So for me, those were the positives, and a lot of people, because they had the time, started coming together to do different things, you know, which I think is really beautiful, and it's going to see better and greater collaborations going forward, even though it came out of a time that was really, really difficult.
I think the last question, the Bring Me Down track with Misty, an amazing song. I think for me, it's like, wow, it's kind of been my song of the year in a certain sense.
Oh, wow, thank you.
You know, and I'm not blowing a trumpet. I play it a lot. I play it often. It's really a favorite. I mean, wow, it just sung together. I love the tribal music mix the most, personally.
Yeah.
I just feel it's good for the dance floor. It just works. You know, the others have their moment on the dance floor, a bit here, a bit there. I mean, DJ Spinner did a remix on it. Just an amazing track, and it's well received. Tell us more about that. You know, I mean, well, how did that happen? You know, it just, wow. Boom, this just popped out. I got it sent. I mean, Ms. D sent me the copy, and from day one, I just lapped it, you know.
Oh, wow.
And this was like, I think in May, June, somewhere there, when I actually got it before it was released.
Yes, it's taken so long to get that track together. So Ms. D, I met her through Luca. She had done a couple of remixes for these tracks that I was featured on. And he sent me the tracks, and he was like, you know, you should really work with Ms. D. She's an amazing producer. And I actually enjoy soulful house a lot. Even though I don't record a lot of it. So I was really enthusiastic to work with her, but the song took a really long time to write, because initially it started off as a love song, which is how most of my songs start. But then, you know, life kicks in, and then I'm thinking, no, you know, there are times when something happens and I feel like something more important needs to be said, because I feel there's a lot of love songs out there. There's more love songs than we need, actually. So the song actually came out of also another like really difficult time, the passing of Nene. I think it was 2 years ago, the young lady who was murdered in Cape Town. Yeah. So that really, really, I mean, and it's something that happens a lot, often here in South Africa, you know. So yeah, that really touched me, and obviously after that there was a series of Slaves of Women, and every year it's the same thing. So that song is basically about that. So when I talk about bringing it back to us, it's about looking inward to ourselves and finding the humanity within ourselves and the strength and the courage to find the justice that women need in this country. Whether you're a man or a woman, but specifically, mostly for men to be allies, to fight with us in this. So that's basically where the song came, and then I eventually finished writing the song, and then I sent it to Dee. She was very happy with it, and then she sent it to Chima for mixing and mastering. And then one day I get this message, and she's like, "Oh well, Chima really likes this. Here's a remix. We didn't even ask for this remix. We didn't ask for it. We just
I don't blame her. I would have done the same.
I was like, wow. And I really love that remix because it speaks to the 90s baby in me.
Yeah.
It's got that nostalgic feel. And I was just like, this is a dream come true for me because I obviously love his music.
Yeah.
But it was just, and then obviously Spinner was someone who had wanted to work with for a very long time. And he was quite easy to connect with. I just sent him a message and I was like, please could you remix this for me? And he was quite happy to do that. And Mark as well, who I've also worked with before. Well, he did a remix as well. So yeah, I mean, it's been really incredible just to see how people have received it. Also, when we released it this year, it was like, should we release it? Should we not?
Because of the whole situation.
Yeah, and then it's like, but I was like, no, let's put it out.
It's good you did. It's good you
Let's
did.
put it out, and yeah, I'm very happy with it. The original mix is my favorite. It's my favorite. I have to say, Janelle's production.
It is amazing. Yeah.
The simplicity of it is just, it's endearing, So yeah, that's how that came about.
Thank you so much for your time. I think we don't want to say it all. But either way, Jackie Queens will be joining us at DMS, doing a whole session about writing vocals, the ups and downs of the industry. I think very, very important, and the things that you touch based on, and especially on the whole issue of females. I think there's something we don't understand and the industry doesn't understand, that it's difficult for females out there. But we're going to touch base on that at the conference. And thank you once again for joining us, and we'll see you at DMS.
See you at DMS.
Make sure you get your tickets, those that haven't got them. There's still some available.
Yeah.
God bless.
Thank you. Thank you so much.